Hey everyone, welcome back to the No Reservations podcast, Kasey Anton's Guide to Restaurant Success. I am Kasey Anton, and this is a bonus episode for everyone where we have a magical, wonderful guest, and she is going to introduce herself. And then we're going to chit chat about all things restaurants, as we love to do. So, Christin Marvin, welcome to No Reservations.
Thank you so much for having me.
Anytime. Well, I say that now, but that might change the end of this podcast. I might be like, never again. Christin, we got connected. How? I think you probably hired one of those. Hey, I can get you on a million podcasts. Was that what happened?
We have a wonderful team that helps us with all things marketing and coaching. And you know how it is. The more you want to scale your business, the more support you need. Some of that support's full time. Some of that is part time. Some of it's fractional. So we have a lovely gentleman who helps us get on podcasts and continue to share our resources and spread the message of, how we can help restaurant leaders all over the world. So that's how we got connected.
I love this. That is a great segue into what brings you here. So our listeners know, I think, kind of what I do and what I blab on about, but let's hear everything. Let's hear your origin story into today. Let's do it.
Yeah. So like you said, I'm Christin Marvin, CEO and founder of Columbine Hospitality. Similar to you, just creating a lot of really fun things in this space of content creation, post restaurant operator and managing partner. So we have a podcast, which is called No Hesitations, which is a spinoff, No Reservations. Yeah. So I love that. When you reached out, I was like, this is awesome. Ours is the restaurant leadership podcast. And then at Columbine Hospitality, we empower restaurant groups to build businesses that run without them. So my journey started at 15 as a line cook, and I quickly transitioned into the front of the house in my teens. My first front of house job was serving and bartending at Outback in 1999 when it was all the rage and so much fun. And I learned so much about systems and discipline and accountability and great training and competition in that time span. And then I ran to a job fair one day at the Broadmoor Hotel, which is an amazing 5-star, 5-diamond property in Colorado Springs. And I was there for 5 years, and I opened a couple of restaurants. I fell in love with fine dining. I got to work with my mentor who worked with Danny Meyer. So I got to see setting the table come to life in the restaurant that we opened, which was amazing. And I got to study wine to be a sommelier, and I got to study with master mixologists out of New York. And I was in my mid-20s going, life can't get any better. I'm making great money. This is a blast. I'm learning every single day. And there's growth and development opportunities for me here. Like, this is incredible. So anyway, I did that for 5 years and put myself through college, and decided when I graduated from college that this was just what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and moved up to Denver. There was just a much better dining scene up there, much more innovative, and ended up opening a magical restaurant called Osteria Marco, which is still open today on Larimer Square, if you've been to Larimer, and beautiful Italian restaurant. And eventually wanted to become a restaurant owner by the time I was 30. And so I approached the owners of Osteria, who wanted to open 5 more concepts over 5 years that were completely different. And so I raised my hand and said, what do I need to do to work up to be a managing partner? And how do I invest in, with my skills and money and time to be, to make my goals happen? So anyway, we ended up opening 5 different concepts: casual French, casual Italian, Asian noodle bar, speakeasy, barbecue. It was a blast. And I joke that we had no idea what we were doing, but we were experimenting with different concepts, and it was fun. And I had so much empowerment and autonomy. But I also learned a really hard lesson about misalignment in partnerships and what that can mean to one person versus the other people. Ooh. So we can talk more about that if you want. But anyway, I did that for 5 years, and then I had decided that I wanted to move on, and I had known 2 brothers that lived in Denver that had 6 restaurants that were all the same concept, really high volume, successful brunch. And I was like, you know what? I want to work daytime so I could see my husband at night. I've never done brunch before. This will be awesome. And I've never worked for a brand that has multiple concepts that has really great success. So I jumped on with them as a GM, took a step back in my career, which was amazing because I felt like I had more work to do as a GM. And then 2 weeks after I got hired, they took me to lunch and they said, we sold the company and we're going public. And we grew from 6 to 48 restaurants in 7 years.
Oh my God.
And it was
so much for seeing your husband, right?
Yeah, exactly. See you later. Every time I open a restaurant, I say, I'll see you in 90 days. I'll see you in 90 days. So anyway,
Wow.
I stayed on that journey for 7 years. We put an incredible amount of systems in. I learned a lot about how to do growth the right way versus some of the experience I'd had in my former career of not doing it the right way, and really learned about people development and what it took to build a really strong bench of talent to grow and keep your culture intact. Through that process, though, I burnt myself out and I stopped investing in myself personally and professionally.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize it at the time. And I was drinking to cover it up. And that really got out of control for me. So I took a step back, started reinvesting in myself again, found a coach to help me. I had no idea what coaching was. And I knew deep down that I loved the industry more than anything. It's really made me who I am today. And I owe a lot to the industry. And I wanted to give back, but I had no idea what a career in hospitality could look like outside of operations. And during my third coaching session, I had a huge moment of insight that one-on-one coaching was always my favorite part of what I did with my teams. And that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So that was 4 years ago. I started taking coaching courses, took my first class, was in a room of 25 people that also wanted to make an impact in the world. And I was so inspired. I jumped off that course or finished that course and then built my website. And here we are today.
Oh my God. This was first, I have so much to say. I think first I'm going to throw away all my questions because now I'm just going to rip because it's great.
Love it.
We have such similar backgrounds. It's like scary how we started, the different units we worked in, and how we both are not in it operationally anymore for very similar reasons, I think. But can't leave it. It's in my DNA. Hospitality is just in my blood, right? Mm-hmm. It sounds like it is in yours.
Yeah.
So this is amazing. I think, I'm not even going to look at my questions right now. So, everyone, the listeners know what I do now. So you have 2 books behind you. And if you're not watching this on YouTube, then we've got Multi-Unit Mastery and then the Hospitality and
the Hospitality Leaders Roadmap. Mm-hmm.
So which one came first?
So Hospitality Leaders Roadmap came first. And that was really about me wanting to, again, start a business where I could just create and deliver as many resources as possible to the industry. But when I kept telling people my story and they were like, wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. And I was like, it is, I've just been working. Right. And so I thought maybe there's something here. Maybe there's an opportunity to share all the leadership lessons that I've learned over the last 20 years with other people. And I had really struggled with being a vulnerable leader when I was coming up in the industry. And 5-star, 5-diamond, you left your shit at the door. You showed up crisp and clean and every single day. And I had through my coaching work, I'd realized that because of my lack of vulnerability, I hadn't connected on a deeper level relationship wise with a lot of my employees and my family and my friends. And so I'd been working with my coach on how to be vulnerable. And he said, Christin, when you write this first book, I want you to go write 2 chapters before we meet again. And I want you to throw everything out there. I want you to be as vulnerable as you've ever been. So I put everything in here: the sex, the drugs, the alcohol, sleeping with your boss, the boss sleeping with you, whatever. I put it all in there and laid it all out. And my hope, it was very therapeutic for me.
Where do I get that book?
It's on Amazon and on our website.
I'm going to be ordering that now. That sounds great. Okay.
But I know how many inexperienced people are coming up through the industry now. And so if I can help somebody avoid some of the mistakes that I made and speed up their learning process and their curve, and find the joy that I found in this industry and let them know what this could be down the road, that was really the goal of the book.
So that's what the book's about. So it's your journey through the restaurant industry and some of the key points that you've learned and who you became.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I hope everybody goes and buys that book because I literally am the Hospitality Leaders Roadmap. I am literally, because it actually sounds like an amazing summer read. So, but for people before they go and buy it, and they're going to, because I'm going to make them all. What are one, two, or three things that if someone reads your book that you want them to grasp from it? They want to say, "Oh my God, Christin, I read your book, and this is what I learned from it." What would those be?
Recognizing signs of burnout and not using alcohol to cope with unhappiness. We know how unhealthy this industry can be. We know the hours are long. It's physically, mentally draining. I really hope that people can read this and go, you know what, I'm going to take care of myself, and I'm going to always be investing in myself as a leader. One of the reasons why it is, and one of the reasons why I burnt out, was because I lost my sense of purpose in what I was doing. So I hope people can take away from this finding a sense of purpose, making sure that you're with an organization that aligns with your core values. I didn't even know what my core values were until I was 40 years old. And we do a lot of that work now with clients. Know what you value, and surround yourself with organizations and people that value the same. That's going to make your world more fulfilling, more joyful. You're going to experience more happiness in your life, which everybody deserves. But when those days get really hard, and they will, that they will, Kasey, right? Long hours, tough guests, somebody's calling out, you are scrambling to try to figure out how to make it to the end of the day or the end of the week or the end of the month. Being connected to your core values is going to make that journey a lot more enjoyable for you.
So do you walk them through an exercise? Because I'm assuming some people are like, core, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Do you walk them through it? Because I've done these exercises myself, and I loved it. And I love that you're talking about it.
We do for core values specifically. We love to draw out people's story and really understand. And anybody that's listening to this episode can do this right now on their own. Sit down with a pen and paper and think about the time in your life that you were the happiest. What was happening around you? Who was around you? What were you doing? Where were you living? Were you inside? Were you outside? What were you eating? Right? Music, like all the things. What was in your life and in your environment that made you so happy? And then you can take that and pull out some keywords and go, oh, I value family. I value community. I value empowerment. I value being a problem solver. I value creativity. And then you can take those one step further and figure out how those behaviors can show up for you and how you want them to show up in your daily jobs and in your daily life. Because when you're living your values, there's just more fulfillment around you every single day. And when you feel lost, it's because typically you're moving away from your values. So when we can help clients make that connection to themselves and their business, then there's a major shift that happens for them in their life.
Oh, definitely. I love that you're saying this right now. I have done this work personally, probably about 12 years ago. What changed everything for me. And now, because it's already ingrained in me, I kind of forgot about it. And the way I think, I'm like, oh, everybody already knows this, but they certainly don't. Just because I did it 12 years ago doesn't mean everybody did it.
Right.
I love that you're saying that. As a matter of fact, this reminds me, I have a son and a daughter. My son is 20, kind of an immature 20, unless they all are. And then it makes me feel better about myself if they are. God, I hope he doesn't. Here's the thing. I know he'll never watch these, so it doesn't matter. He never will say these. He is working, so he's home he goes to college, he's home for the summer, he's working 2 jobs. He literally hates his day job. And it's all he does is complain. I can tell he's showing up a minute or 2 late, which just kills me.
Yeah.
And all he talks about is how much he hates it. But here's the thing. I love what you just said, because none of what he's doing in the construction world is anything that he does value. That's just not him. I know this about my son. That is not him. Yeah. He works at a restaurant at night and he lights up and he loves it. Mm-hmm. Where he gets that from? So this is very cool. I might even have to do this exercise with him, because if you don't do this work, this is what I'm thinking of. If you don't do this work to figure out what your personal values are, you could just get stuck in a job because, hey, it's there, it's what you know, it's near you, whatever, and think that that's normal. And that's what would create the burnout, right?
100%. And to really amplify this, and with what we do now with working with multi-unit groups, imagine when you as an owner know what your core values are, you know exactly what the values of the business are and how you want them to show up every single day. Then you surround yourself with a team of people and use those core values and those behaviors to hire. It's explosive.
And to add on to that, when you hire, you use those core values in your gauntlet. So we run a huge gauntlet here before we hire someone, but
Yes.
we're hiring pretty skilled labor here, but it's a long road gauntlet. And we incorporate our core values into every part of it because we want to filter through to the people that also value those same things. So in a restaurant, in a way, you could absolutely, and tell me if I'm wrong, weave in your core values into part of your recruitment process, your hiring process, to also make sure that your hiring is the best that you can, the right people on the bus.
Absolutely. We create, once we help restaurants identify what their core values are, and we check in on them every single year, by the way, because sometimes they shift as your business shifts. We create core value interview questions for every single position so that young junior managers that are interviewing for the first time, all the way up to your CEO, can make sure that they are able to identify those behaviors in the people that they're bringing on.
Without feeding them the answers, right? They actually have to come up with them on their own.
100%.
Okay, this is amazing. I can't believe how similar we are. This is unbelievable. All right, so you're talking about the clients that you work with and what you do. Like, walk me through that. Like, what is a typical client for you?
Yeah, so independent restaurant owners that have multiple locations, 3 units or more, all over the world.
Okay. Always multi-unit, so not the single guy.
Yeah, we're really in the process of helping people scale. We want to be with group. Our clients have been with us for 3 or 4 years, and we want to continue to be with people for the long journey.
And you're helping them open multiple locations.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yep.
But you're not creating SOPs, I assume.
So
what exactly is the work you do?
Yeah. So Kasey, you mentioned this on episode 53 when you were talking about the work that you've done with clients over the years and how you recognize a lot of common themes, right? Mm-hmm. It was the exact same thing for me. So I'd worked with 30 clients in 3 years and I was like, they're all missing the same things, and I can build a framework out of this and turn it into a book. So that's where multi-unit mastery came from. So I created what's called the independent restaurant framework. So it is basically a step-by-step process of the foundation that you need to build and strengthen with locations 1 and 2 before you go 3+. So what that first step is building a vision for your business so that everybody knows exactly where you're going, and then identifying what leadership team or what leadership positions your business actually needs versus just putting people in place because they're loyal, right? Which we've seen a lot happen in the independent space. Oh,
Guilty.
I'm just gonna create well, years ago before the pandemic, when top line was different, we could afford to do that. Now we can't, right? With margins being the way that they are. So we help people identify exactly what positions the business needs, make sure that the model supports that. And then we help them go find those positions or, again, do a core value assessment on who's in the building already. Do those people meet those values? Do they need to be developed? Do they need to be replaced? And then we take them through a process of nurturing and developing those people so that they, again, there's a really stable system for building a strong bench of talent and hanging on to people, which of course, when we can hang on to the leadership talent, the retention continues to rise throughout the ranks of the entire organization.
Yeah. And you often are using the phrase the independent operator with the multi-units. Is that because you stay away from franchises?
The independent space is where my heart and soul is. I love them. We're very like-minded. I'm very much a hyperachiever, as you are too, Kasey, right? Like we wear all the hats. So we get them and they get us. We have such great relationships, and so many people in the independent space have helped me come up over the 20 years in my career. So again, it's just a way to pay back to people that have really made an impact on us.
Yeah, that's interesting. People always, the different things that I'm kind of doing, like with my book and with my system, they're like, oh, you should, get in with some franchises. And I'm like, Like, I know I probably should. It's probably the right business move, and I'm not even saying I won't do it, but it just like doesn't spark me up. I'm my heart and soul, and this is what I say to them. My heart is with the independent operator. That's just, that's who I am, I guess. So
yeah, and franchises are great, right? They're very successful for a reason. They've got their playbook, but we tend to see that a lot of the independent operators are trying to do all the things on their own, or we coach a lot of husbands and wives or partners that are together in a relationship that need some separate support and need to figure out how to run a strong business together, but also not kill each other in the process when they go home.
Yeah. Wow. Do you guarantee that?
No. Our, I love that.
Guarantee you will not commit murder.
Guarantee you. Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
not be a bad guarantee, but I'm not going to do that.
I love it.
Whenever we have someone come to us, as like a lead or a referral or whatnot, and their partners are even married, and I'm just like, oh, when's this going to end? Which is probably terrible, but literally, I'd say 99% do end, right? Usually not well, so. But it can work, I suppose, especially if you work with a team like yours. I bet it absolutely has a success rate versus your average, but they just do not understand what's going on.
Yeah, I mean,
All right.
at the root of what we do, we are coaches more than anything, and so we really spend quality time with our clients, creating space for them to go deeper than they've ever gone before on business topics, and of course that spills over into things personally. So we run into problems at the restaurants. And then we realize, oh shit, there's something personally here going on that we have got to clear space for first before we're actually going to be able to go in and fix that business problem. So we really go deep with people.
Very smart. And is this done in person? Like, do you travel to the places to do this work?
It's a hybrid. So we work with some clients in Denver in person. I went down to see our clients in Santa Fe a couple of weeks ago, which was just magical. We'll do some quarterly meetings in person because it's just, the experience is awesome. So it's really a hybrid.
Okay, so I just threw all my questions out the window again because I know we probably have like another 5 to 10 minutes, but what I want to know. And I'm guessing, I'm speaking for my listeners, I'm guessing this is what they want to know. Can you tell us your favorite client, and you don't have to use names unless you want to, and why they came to you and why they're your favorite, with what you do for them, etc., and then like your least favorite?
It's, you know what, it's hard to pick a favorite. I know that's the political answer because they're all so different and unique. But I would say we've got a client in Tucson that we've been working with for 3 years, and we've opened 3 locations together since we've been working together. When the owner came to us, he said, look, I don't know how to develop people, and that's not necessarily the role that I want to be in. And I need help putting together a team that can help me get out of operations so that I can go spend time identifying new locations and be the brand ambassador for the company that I want to be, and build community and work on business strategy. And he said, I've identified a couple people on my team already. Would you talk to them? Would you meet with them? Would you do some coaching with them and see where we can go with these people? So we spent time with a couple. We identified one that was an AGM when we started working together 3 years ago. We coached her up to GM. She's been a regional for 8 months, and she's absolutely crushing it. She's all of 26 years old. And she's one of those people that we coach, and her moments of insight just come up and come up and come up. And she is just so creative, and her ideas just flow. And she will take an idea and create a system around it and go implement. And then 2 weeks later, when we talk, she's already talking about how the implementation process went. And she's not doing it out of, in an environment of chaos. We've worked really hard with her on how to create sustainable, successful change. And she just takes it and runs with it. She's so empowered. She takes such great ownership, and she's just a blast because she comes to every single session prepared with an idea of exactly where she's falling down in her leadership and what she needs next. And it's magical. Yeah, she's great. Least favorite, I would say that there's no least favorite, because I will say this: in the beginning of my coaching journey, if I found myself being frustrated with a client, thinking, oh, they're not showing up as much as they could, or they're not coming to sessions prepared, I had to work with my coach on this. And that was about me needing to calm down and not let my hyperachiever go into overdrive, and meet the client where they're at and give them what they needed in that moment, or call out to them what's frustrating. You haven't made any progress over the last 6 sessions on this idea, this big problem that we've talked about. Why not? Call them out on their bullshit. So I learned that very, very early on. If I'm frustrated with somebody, it's because I'm not saying something, or because I'm trying to push an agenda on a client and making it about me. And it's not about me. It's always about them.
Yeah. So I wrote down a couple of notes here. The Tucson client that you mentioned, how did they find you?
So when I've lived in Denver since 2007, but I when I burnt myself out in the industry, I needed a lifestyle change. And I moved down to Tucson, Arizona to completely redesign my lifestyle.
Okay.
Yep. And so I got really ingrained with the community there and just started going downtown, finding nonprofit groups that supported restaurants and just going into fun concepts that I loved and just going in and going, who owns this place? This place is awesome. I would love to have a conversation with somebody. So it was just through networking.
Through networking. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And what you had talked about when it comes to the 26-year-old that's knocking it out of the park, she sounds like a super who. And I certainly didn't coin that phrase, but I belong to a scaling.com organization with Dr. Ben Hardy, and they're always talking about going after the super who's that can completely change your business, which I also agree is really important. But I wanted to ask your opinion on this because it still comes up to this day, even though I feel like for me, I solved it a long time ago. But again, I can't assume that everyone's on my same journey. But the last thing a business owner needs to know how to do is everything, correct?
Correct.
Or you don't have to agree with me if you don't agree, but this is what I've never thought that way.
It's not possible.
I learned this from the restaurant industry,
yeah,
where even though I was not a chef or a cook of any kind, I felt like other than that, I had to wear every single hat. And I think it was ultimately my demise, which might be a stretch. I was able to sell it, but still we probably would have been better or maybe not sell it if I had learned that I didn't have to be all things to all people, that you're supposed to hire smarter people in areas that you're not great at, and that lifts everybody up. Do you agree with that?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I learned late.
Yeah, I mean, the super who is a fascinating concept. I love Ben Hardy and his books, and I think, and we've learned a lot about how to find great talent for our team based on the concepts that he and Dan Sullivan put together. And so, I think it's, we were trained, and the example that has been set for restaurant owners back in the day was, if you wanted to make as much money as possible, you had to do everything by yourself. It just doesn't, again, post-pandemic, it doesn't work. The business is more complex than it's ever been before. It doesn't make any sense for people to try to be everything. You got to find your zone of genius and stay in your zone of genius. Understand what you truly bring to your restaurant, what makes you special, and then find other people with those amazing skill sets. You have to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, right? Yeah. My coach always says, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, right?
That's right. Another great book.
Yeah.
And Zone of Genius from one of my favorite books of all time,
yeah.
The Big Leap by Kate Hendricks.
100%.
Such a great book.
Such a good book. Absolutely. So I think, again, the industry now is more complex than it's ever been. Marketing is so much different than it used to be. Technology is so much different than it used to be. Where AI is helping people innovate in an industry that's already so innovative from a concept perspective, but from a mindset perspective, we're very slow adopters. And so there's this crossroads right now of like, how am I going to be everything that I need to be to run a successful business, because margins are slimmer than they've ever been. And that is scarcity thinking and a scarcity mindset. And so we really coach a lot around mindset. So build a vision to where you want to go, set those revenue targets, work backwards from there and understand exactly what the business needs, and then go find those people. Like I said earlier on the call, it doesn't have to be full-time positions. It doesn't have to be just a server that has no experience that you want to throw some money at to do social media for you once a week. You can find virtual assistants. You can find fractional people these days to help diversify your business, because you said it earlier, Kasey, you weren't able to sell your business, which is fine. But when people come to us and say, look, I want to scale to 6 and then I want to sell, we say, okay, the first thing we have to do then is get you away from the business, because no one will buy a business where the owner is attached.
Amen to that.
It's not sustainable.
Yep.
So
always build to work without you. Be the chess player, not the chess piece, as I say. I have 2 last questions for you.
Okay.
And we're going to wrap up. You ready?
Yep.
You know the phrase, this has to do with like multiple restaurants, if you're an owner. The phrase, 1 is 1 and 2 is 10.
Ooh, I don't know that.
Oh God, I lived by it. So having 1 restaurant is 1 restaurant. As soon as you go to 2, it feels like 10.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
100%.
Like I did that in my journey, and I find it to be true in every operator that I've worked with that I've tried to do that.
Yeah.
When you go beyond 2 to 3 more, things will start to level out, right? I think that's when systems come into place. More of a visual structure probably happens at that point. But 1 is 1 and 2 is 10. As I hear, if you maybe you haven't heard it, but you understand what I'm saying.
100%.
Do you know why that is?
From my perspective, I think it's because the owner is there in their number one location. They're there all the time, shoulder to shoulder with the teams, being able to identify problems and solve the problems. And Danny Meyer came to speak to us a couple months ago, and he talked about this when he went from Union Square Cafe, and then 10 years later to Gramercy. He said, look, I was working with those people every single day. I thought they knew exactly what my expectations were. As soon as I went to Gramercy, all the standards started to fall apart. And I realized it was because I wasn't using my words. And we use that a lot with our clients. But I think that owners take for granted, when I'm at location one, the team just knows what I expect. I don't need systems in place. I don't need checklists. I don't need to brain dump everything out of my mind to give it to them. They already know it. And then they go to 2, and then they realize how reliant number 1 has been on them.
Yes.
And then it opens up all these gaps, and it throws gasoline on the fire of all these challenges in the business. And then they end up doing the same thing in number 2.
Yes. That's exactly, I didn't even know that answer. And you just gave it. I'm like, yep, that's exactly what happens. Brilliant as you are. All right, here's my final question, which I'm changing it from what I was really going to do.
Okay.
All right, my final question. So if restaurant owners are listening to this podcast right now, I live in usually the 1 to 3 unit operator space, which is interesting because you're like 3+, right? So I usually live in there, but some have more. Let's face it, some have none, and they're dreaming. But so just thinking about the typical operator listening to this right now, they might have 1, 2, 3 spaces. If they're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or anything in this conversation kind of jumped out at them like, what is the very first step that you would tell them to take tomorrow morning based off of our conversation?
Well, I think if you're a restaurant owner and you're listening to this and you cannot get away from constant text messages, you cannot take vacation without completely being able to unplug, and you feel like your management team or leadership team around you is not taking the same level of ownership that you are in order to get to the next level, and you're just frustrated, I guarantee you that the team is probably emulating a lot of those same behaviors, which is going to lead to burnout and an unsuccessful business. Let's gift you a coaching session for anybody that's listening to this right now. And let's dive deep into that and figure out what the root cause of that is, because there may need to be just one small behavior change that you need to do in order to completely shift what's going on in your business. So let's identify that together.
It could really be that simple.
Yeah.
It could be. It probably is.
It's one tiny step at a time. It's not a major overhaul, but we've got to spend some time and create the space to get to the root of the problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was awesome. And thank you for that coaching call. If you do reach out to Christin, which you're going to tell us exactly how to do that in 1 second, just make sure you mention No Reservations podcast, and then she'll give you everything you want.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So how can people reach out? How can they find you? How can they learn more about you? Tell us everything.
Yeah, a couple of things. So if you want a copy of the book, Multi-Unit Mastery, happy to gift that to you for listening to this episode. Go to irfbook.com, download the book. That is also going to kick my calendar to you. So jump on there and grab an hour coaching session, and let's start to do some deep work together and start to make that shift so that you can build the business of your dreams that you want.
Oh, I love that. irfbook.com. What does IRF stand for?
So that's the Independent Restaurant Framework.
Ooh, irfbook.com. That is gold right there. It could change your life. I guarantee you that. Anything else you want to add before we sign off for the episode?
No, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I can't wait to connect with you more.
Yeah, we have to do this again, or even offline. I have so much more I could ask you. This was amazing. And to our listeners, thank you so much. As always, please like, share, or do whatever you're supposed to.